Hi everyone, I just wanted to check in with you and give you some instructions for this lab. So the lab you're going to be doing today is about forensic entomology, obviously, and you will be measuring some maggots, larvae, if you don't like the word maggots, and trying to determine the postmortem interval for a dog in this case. So first thing you're going to notice is that I have two cases on this lab, and I already sent the lab out to you, and then I realized, or I thought about it actually, and I decided that there really was no reason for you to do both of the cases. So this is gonna be in the email, you'll see, but if you're listening to this, I am cutting this lab down so that you're only doing the first case, okay? So let's take a look at what you are going to do. Obviously, you're going to read it. Hopefully that's obvious. And then you are going to need to find out what size and stage your larvae are in, your fly larvae are in. And so to do that, you have some data down here. Let's go past case 2, past our table. Okay, these are the specimens that you're going to potentially be identifying, and this is what their larvae look like. We have the housefly, the blowfly, the flesh fly, and the skipper fly, 4 very common corpse flies that we might have. Okay, so for case 1, here are your data, right? Here's your data. So those are your larvae, okay? And you're going to need to measure those larvae. So this is what I suggest. 2 very easy ways you can do this. One would be to hold a ruler on your screen and measure it. Now, if you have a regular 12-inch ruler at home, and you probably do, the other side of the ruler is probably metric in centimeters and millimeters. And all you need to do is zoom in or zoom out on your screen until your ruler lines match up with my ruler lines. And then you know you will be scaled correctly. So once you have scaled your page correctly, then you can come up here and measure each of your larvae individually, okay? And you do need to measure them all individually. They can vary by as little as 1 millimeter, and that can make a difference of days in your calculation. So measure them as precisely as possible. If you don't have that kind of a ruler at home, I gave you one over here, just sitting out here by itself, that you can potentially print, or you can print this page, just like maybe copy and print this page of the lab, or just copy and print this ruler. And again, don't change, make sure that it lines up as far as the scale is concerned, and then you can just come back and measure them. What I would suggest you do is just print this page, and then everything will print in the right size and the right scale, and then you can just use the ruler, cut it out, and actually measure it, the larvae as you need to, okay? Okay, so let's say you've measured a larvae. Now you're going to come back up here and identify it. So let's say we identified one of these yellow little larvae, which looks like is the housefly, okay? So let me come back up to my data table. Case 1. So I found that it was a larva, right, the larva stage, and that it was 6 millimeters. Let's say I measured it, 6 millimeters, and I just saw that it was a housefly. Okay, so now you're going to use the table that I provide for you to try to determine what the approximate postmortem interval was, and then you're going to have to see if you're going to have to adjust it one way or the other. So if we look at our housefly column, there's our housefly column, and if we look at our measurement, which was 6 millimeters, we could see once again it's in the larval state, L for larval state, okay, and that tells us that it's somewhere between 4 and 5 days old. All right, so that is our PMI, approximate PMI, 4 to 5 days. All right, now you have to decide if you're going to delay or accelerate that PMI based on the temperature. So here are temperatures down here, and for each temperature you can see what happens to the fly's development. So if the temperature was 55 degrees in that environment, I would subtract 4 days from my value. If it were 85 degrees, I'm sorry, I just said the exact opposite thing. If it were 55 degrees, that means it's colder. That means it's going to take longer for the fly to develop. And so delayed 4 days means that I'm going to add 4 days, okay? If it were 85 degrees in the setting, then their growth is accelerated by 3 days, which means I'm going to subtract 3 days from whatever time I got. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to you to see if you're going to need to do that or not. You could put that in here and then give me an adjusted PMI in here. So you're going to measure all of the larvae that you have for case 1. Again, be precise in your measurements because some of them differ by only 1 millimeter. So be precise. Okay. Then once you have your data table all filled in up here, case 1, all filled in, right, with all of your larvae and your approximate PMI, then you should be able to determine when you look at all of these together, how old is the corpse, right? When did the body die? How old is the corpse? When did the body die? Right? How long ago has it been since the body died? Okay, and you're going to answer that in a few other questions in Kia. So again, you'll look for Kia, and the lab says entomology, right? It says entomology lab in Kia, and you can answer your post-lab questions in Kia. Okay, so if there are any other questions or anything like that, just let me know. But again, just a reminder, you're only going to be doing case 1 now, right? I've seen the error of my ways, okay? So we're only going to do case 1. We don't need to do case 2 for this one. Okay, folks, any questions at all, just send me an email or drop a line on Teams and I can respond and everybody can see it. Somebody did that today in one of my classes, so that was a good idea. And otherwise, I will, catch you again tomorrow. Okay, bye.